Vince, we are spoiled.
No matter where they are, like, we're loyal.
I said go for 2 right off the bat.
And bats it to himself.
Raiders fans were sold a dream when this team landed in Las Vegas. A fresh start, a real plan, and a shot at something great. But right now, panic in Raiders HQ is the only way to describe what just leaked out of the building. The Henderson Files are out, and what they reveal is far worse than anything fans already feared. Just before midnight on December 18th, 2025, a message was sent from inside the Raiders' executive offices in Henderson, Nevada. The sender was John Spytek, the general manager. The recipients were Mark Davis, the owner, and Tom Brady, the team's minority partner. The message was classified as restricted, eyes only. It was never supposed to leave that room, but it did. And now, the entire league knows what was being said behind closed doors. The message opened with a short, cold sentence. We have a critical structural issue. Spytek told Davis and Brady that head coach Pete Carroll was refusing to place Max Crosby on injured reserve. Carroll called it an ethical breach that would permanently destroy the locker room. Spytek did not back down. He told Carroll the decision had already been finalized upstairs. If Carroll did not fall in line immediately, the plan to replace him in February would be moved up right away. That alone would have been enough to break the internet for a week. But it was not even close to the most alarming part of the message. Spytek also revealed that the stadium was in serious financial trouble. The Allegiant Stadium debt service projection for the fourth quarter of 2025 was short by $14.2 million. There were unremitted suite amortization issues the team could not afford to have audited again. And here is where it gets truly damaging. The message made clear that trading Max Crosby to the Baltimore Ravens before March would clear $25.7 million in cap space.
That money, according to the message, would cover the team's immediate cash shortfalls at the stadium. Let that sink in for a second. The Raiders front office was allegedly planning to trade their most important player not to win football games, not to rebuild the roster smartly, but to help cover the stadium bills. This is the kind of story that does not happen by accident. It is the result of a culture that has been broken for years. Before we go deeper into all of it, if you are a Raiders fan who has been watching this franchise fall apart, hit that subscribe button right now and drop a comment below telling us who you think is running this team. Because based on what leaked, the answer might shock you. Now let us talk about Pete Carroll, because what happened to him tells you everything you need to know about this organization. Carroll was brought to Las Vegas to be a stabilizing force.
The Raiders needed someone with a real track record, someone players respected, someone who could walk into a broken locker room and start building something honest. Carroll had all of that. He had spent over a decade building winning programs and had a reputation for holding players accountable while fighting hard for them. The hire felt like a genuine turning point for a franchise that desperately needed one. Fans were told this was the hire that would finally change things, that Carroll understood how to build real culture and how to demand accountability from the ground up. For a fan base that had been let down so many times, it felt like a reason to believe. What actually happened was the opposite. In late December of 2025, the Raiders front office quietly placed Max Crosby on injured reserve. The official explanation was a precautionary step tied to a serious knee injury, reasonable on the surface. But the leaked documents say the move was part of a deliberate organizational tank designed to secure the #1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Carroll did not agree with the move. He did not just privately object, he pushed back hard. And when he could not stop it, he went public in a way that very few coaches ever dare to. During a press conference that Friday afternoon, Carroll went completely off script. He confirmed that Crosby had left the facility in frustration. He said his own front office had made a decision without him. And he made clear that he agreed with Crosby's anger completely. 1000% was the phrase he used. A head coach standing at a podium, publicly backing his star player over his own front office is almost never that open. It was a signal to anyone watching that the power structure inside that building had collapsed. That was not a coach venting after a hard week. That was a man who had just realized the job he agreed to no longer existed.
His authority had been stripped. The locker room he was supposed to lead had been turned into a political tool. And there he was, standing in a microphone, alone. The Raiders finished the season at 3 wins and 14 losses. Shortly after the season ended, Pete Carroll was fired. He was not a loose cannon who could not be managed. He was a true professional who tried to do the job he was hired to do. The front office stripped his authority, created a locker room crisis, and then let him absorb the public damage while they stayed in the shadows. He was brought in to build something and handed a wrecking ball instead. But Carroll's story is not the most personal thing buried in these leaked files. That belongs to Max Crosby. Crosby has been the public face of this franchise for years. He is the player on the billboards, in the commercials, in every press release about the future of the team. Every time a reporter asks about the foundation of the Raiders, his name comes up first. He was the cornerstone. That is what the front office told him. That is what they told the fans. Behind his back, the story was completely different. The Raiders front office was actively shopping Crosby to the Baltimore Ravens in exchange for 2 first-round draft picks. This was not an early conversation. The trade was fully agreed upon by both teams. Crosby had already been informed that the deal was done. He had started preparing to leave Las Vegas. He was mentally ready to begin a new chapter in Baltimore. Then the trade fell apart at the last possible moment. Baltimore's medical staff ran a physical on Crosby and raised concerns tied to his January meniscus surgery. The deal collapsed instantly. Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta admitted publicly that he was gutted. Baltimore had to pivot to other options, and Crosby was left in Las Vegas, knowing that the people who publicly called him a cornerstone had been trying to move him for cap space and picks.
Not because of anything he did wrong, not because of a contract dispute or a performance issue, but because the front office needed to monetize his value to solve a financial problem that had nothing to do with football. The leak says Crosby felt completely betrayed. His camp has quietly communicated that the relationship with the Raiders front office is fractured beyond repair. The Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles are already putting together trade packages because they know Las Vegas has lost all leverage. The Raiders will likely be forced to take a discounted deal to avoid a prolonged locker room holdout. They damaged the relationship with their best player and will now pay a financial penalty for it on top of the personal one. For fans, this stings on a level beyond just losing a player. They watched Crosby give everything he had to this franchise, every block, every sack, every injury he played through. He was the one Raider who never quit, and this is how they treated him. Now we need to talk about the person at the center of the shadow power structure, and that is Tom Brady. Brady was approved as a 5% minority owner of the Raiders in late 2024. At the same time, he was entering a 10-year broadcasting deal with Fox Sports worth $375 million. The NFL recognized the obvious conflict right away and put strict rules in place. Brady was not allowed to visit other team facilities, attend practices, or join in-person production meetings. The rules were designed to protect competitive balance across the entire league. In August of 2025, the league relaxed those restrictions slightly to allow Brady to join production meetings remotely. But according to the Henderson Files, Brady's involvement with the Raiders went far beyond that of a passive investor. He was spotted wearing a headset in the Raiders' coach's booth during games. Rival teams filed formal complaints. The leak says Brady was acting as a shadow general manager, working directly with John Spytek on player evaluations, roster strategy, and the search for Pete Carroll's replacement after the firing. The concern from rival owners is not competitive jealousy. It is a real structural problem. Brady's Fox Sports colleagues have full access to opposing teams' game plans, practices, and roster details. If Brady used any of that secondhand information to guide Raiders football decisions, that is a direct violation of NFL competitive integrity rules. The league could respond with heavy fines, loss of multiple future first-round picks, or a forced removal of Brady from his ownership stake or his broadcasting job. The paper trail now exists, and rival owners are pushing hard for a formal investigation. On paper, the Raiders have a clear and clean chain of command. Sandra Douglas Morgan handles business operations. Spytek runs football. Clint Kubiak coaches the roster. But the leaked reality is that Davis makes unilateral decisions based on personal relationships. Brady is sitting in the coach's booth directing strategy, and the real decisions about the roster are being made by a trio of Davis, Spytek, and Brady, with no real accountability to anyone below them. What makes all of this even harder to accept for Raiders fans is that it is not new. Mark Bedane resigned suddenly in July of 2021, alongside key financial executives, after significant accounting errors and unremitted tax liabilities connected to Allegiant Stadium were discovered. Then, Dan Ventrell was fired in May of 2022. He filed a formal whistleblower complaint, alleging he was terminated in retaliation for alerting the NFL that Davis had ignored multiple employee complaints about a hostile work environment. The league launched a formal investigation. Right around the same time, Jeremy Aguero resigned after just 7 months, citing internal discord and a lack of organizational alignment. Then, Josh McDaniels was fired in October of 2023, during the season, alongside general manager Dave Ziegler, after a complete player mutiny driven by systemic alienation and excessive meetings. And now, Pete Carroll, fired after 1 season, after the front office stripped his authority and dismantled the competitive culture he tried to build. Every few years, the Raiders bring in someone new and make big promises. Then that person runs into the same wall of executive overreach and unilateral decision-making. The ones who push back get fired. The ones who stay quiet eventually leave on their own. That is not a bad luck streak. That is a management culture. And until the people making decisions change, there is no real reason to believe the next hire will end up any differently. Underneath all of it sits the stadium money problem. When the Allegiant Stadium deal was finished, it was sold as a massive financial win.
Luxury suites, live entertainment revenue, and a brand new market were going to create a financial foundation that would last for decades. Then the pandemic hit. Live entertainment tax revenues bottomed out. Accounting errors surfaced. Financial executives resigned. The balance sheet became volatile and never fully recovered. The leak confirms the Raiders faced a $14.2 million shortfall in their fourth quarter debt service projection. To fill that gap, the front office looked at its football assets. Trading Crosby to Baltimore would have generated $25.7 million in cap space that could be redirected to cover operational cash shortfalls at the stadium. Roster decisions, injured reserve designations, and player trades were not being made for football reasons. They were being used as financial tools to prop up a struggling corporate balance sheet. For Clint Kubiak and Fernando Mendoza, this is an impossible situation to walk into.
Kubiak is trying to build a competitive culture around a young quarterback who needs stability. But the foundation beneath them is cracked. His best players could be moved at any moment to address accounting problems that the coaching staff never created. Mendoza is supposed to represent the future of this team, but futures do not grow in this kind of environment. Stability, trust, and a clear structure are what young players need to develop. Right now, none of those things exist inside the Las Vegas Raiders organization. So what comes next? If the league investigates and finds that Brady used his broadcast access to benefit the Raiders, the penalties could be historic. Multiple first-round picks forfeited, heavy fines, and Brady being forced to choose between ownership and his broadcasting career. Any of those outcomes adds another layer of chaos to an organization already drowning in it. On the player side, Crosby's camp is expected to push hard for a trade before the start of 2026 training camp. The Cowboys and Eagles are circling. And because everyone knows how broken the relationship is, the Raiders have no leverage at all. They will be forced to accept less than Crosby is worth on the open market. And then there is John Spytek. The financial mismanagement, the botched Crosby trade, the leaked email disaster. All of it puts his job in serious jeopardy. Mark Davis has shown before that he will make sudden, sweeping changes when a scandal gets big enough. If the NFL opens a formal investigation or state tax authorities begin looking at the stadium finances, Davis may decide Spytek is the one who takes the fall. That would leave Kubiak and Mendoza stranded, forced to operate under an interim front office during their very first season together. Another lost year, another full reset. Every scenario leads to the same conclusion. The front office created these problems, and the people most likely to pay the price for them are the coach, the quarterback, and the fans who pack that stadium every week. If you have followed this story from the beginning, drop a comment right now and tell us whether you think there is any version where the Raiders get it right this time, or whether another reset is already unavoidable. Because here is what needs to be said clearly before this ends. The people who have suffered through all of this are the fans. Raiders fans have been loyal through everything. Through the move from Oakland, through the coaching changes, through the executive chaos, through the locker room collapses. Year after year, no matter what, they show up, they wear the silver and black, and they believe that this time, the organization will finally get it right. Las Vegas is a real football city. The passion is real. The stadium is real. The fan base is real.
What needs to become real is a front office that treats this team like a football organization instead of a financial instrument. A leadership group that respects the coaches it hires enough to let them coach. That values its best players enough not to trade them to cover stadium debt. That listens to the people around it instead of making every major decision from one small room at the very top. The Henderson Files did not just reveal panic inside one building. They revealed a franchise that is consuming itself from the inside out. The next reset, if it comes, only matters if the people responsible for it finally stop treating the Raiders like a political chessboard. The silver and black deserves better. The city deserves better. And the fans who have carried this team through everything deserve a real plan and the people in charge who are finally willing to execute it.